Now, if you click this video, you got debt maybe, lack of education on finance, you're making some low income, you don't know how to budget, or you're just curious about financial stability. Welcome. Let's talk about it, okay? This is going to be an interesting episode because for most of y'all, for a lifetime struggle, you're not going to be able to attain financial stability for a good handful of reasons. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. But for those of you who don't know who I am, you might be looking at me like, okay, who the hell is this guy? I don't know. I clicked the video, but let me introduce myself, okay? I have $1 million matcha shop in the cute little tourist town of Waikiki. I have several channels on YouTube, Just Kidding News. I started back in 2007 with a sketch channel called Just Kidding Films. And they all got a couple million subscribers. Oh yeah, another game show called Just Kidding Party. They're all up there right now. And a lot of people who are my audience today, they have watched all these channels growing up. It's my 15th year on YouTube. I dabbled into a lot of things and I made $1 million. I've been a millionaire a couple times, lost it a couple of times. So what better person than me to share my mistakes and failures of lack of financial stability, so you don't do what I do. And also, I did not grow up rich. I did not grow up middle class even. My mom raised me on $20K a year. So when it comes to financial stability, I got a lot to share, all right? So without further ado, the basics of financial stability, all this stuff is pretty easy to learn. Anybody now can just Google this up and it's all there. But why is it that so many people struggle with it? Why do so many Americans, they're like one paycheck away from being bankrupt? Why are we in debt? And there's a lot of reasons, right? Like the living wage, we don't make enough. There's all these different things, we're trying to achieve the American dream and it's nearly impossible if you're living in a major city like Honolulu, LA, San Francisco, New York. If you're fresh out of college and just got married, how the hell is this 22-year-old gonna afford a $1.2 million house? The average price of a house is $900,000 in a major city now. Sounds absolutely crazy. But I don't want to focus too much on the outside factors. Let's start small. Let's start very easy, in the stages that we can achieve, right? Because we can really go down the rabbit hole here and really get ourselves caught up with the mountain of bullshit that can be holding us back. But on a very small scale, if most of y'all still live at home, if most of you who are listening, you have a stable career or whatever it is, you might be wondering why you just can't get ahead, why you can't achieve this stability, why it's hard, whatever. And it usually boils down to habits, self-control, and lack of fundamentals. And I know this is very important to y'all because I did post this on Twitter, and it was by far the biggest thing that my audience wanted to talk about and hear me discuss. It was financial stability. And it's been such a long time for me to remember what that felt like. It got me to really think and write all this stuff down. Especially because my personal journey was up and down, and I still struggle with it at times today. Because I know it's a self-control and habit thing. At the stage that I'm in right now, I'll tell you what my personal bad habit is. It's putting everything I got, everything I make, back into my businesses. Because I'm so passionate about it, it's also a game to me. And sometimes I treat everything like it's the casino, the stock market, crypto, all these different business projects, all of it, high risk, high reward, all of that stuff. I get way too excited. And I somehow justify it in my head like, hey, I'm using this money to make money. And when looking back, I'm not doing my due diligence. I'm doing it all based on emotions. I'm not being a very good businessman at it. I have different reasons during that time, like a drug addict, as to why these things make sense, And I'm like, yeah, I'm lucky that a lot of these concepts 5-10 years from now will pay off. But I made some really risky, stupid moves that go against fundamentals. And I know how bad they are. Like, I just know that I'm lucky. And it's not something that I should go around and parade and recommend for other people. Because, first and foremost, we all have different tolerances when it comes to risk, right? Like, some people, they'll go to the casino and they'll blow hundreds of thousands and they won't even break a sweat. While, other people will lose $50 and then they'll just obsess about getting that back and it'll just ruin their whole entire trip. So, just like they say, gamble responsibly. Everybody has a different tolerance. And I also think the reason why my standards are so, the reason why I can be so risky is because my life standards are actually pretty low. Like, one day I could be sleeping in the back of my truck bed, and the next day I could be in a luxury 5-star hotel, and it doesn't really matter to me. Like, I thought that once I started flying business class that I won't be able to go back to economy, but it's not. I mean, I don't think it's a big difference. Like, I do like the fact that I can go to sleep, so that's really nice. But other than that, like, yeah, it's just comfort and like positioning. But either way, I love flying, so to me, I already see it as a treat to be able to sit on an airplane, even on, budget airplanes or whatever. I didn't grow up flying so much. So every single time I got to go to the airport and all that, it just has really good memories for me. And then a lot of my friends who get to a bougie level, they can't go back. That's their new standard of life. Where for me, I find it as like, oh, this is kind of cool. Once in a while, we get to camp and sleep outdoors, and then sometimes we get to crash on at other people's houses, and then I'll live in a room here, or I own a home there. But a lot of these things just don't. It's not a big difference to me. I guess it just depends on what you value and what your standard of living is. So for me, my standard of living is considered pretty low to a lot of people. And even though I have a bunch of cars and trucks, it wouldn't matter. I could probably live on a moped. And I have had a moped for 3 months of my life. And I made it work. So these things to me feel all like extra, because a human being just has their body and we just exist, right? And money is just an imagination. So if your mind is detached, I think what ends up happening is all this stuff just seems like a game. So then I get myself in trouble. And this is the reason why I think I have to rewire my head to think a little bit safer. And also, I'm in a very long-term committed relationship right now. At my age, I'm thinking about family. I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking about safety. And, money isn't just to purchase things. Financial stability is about protection. It's about, security, all these things. And for so long, I've been a homeless nomad, that I think I never thought of these responsibilities, which allowed me to have such a high risk tolerance. And it'll be different for each person, right? Some people, they're not making anything and they still have a high risk tolerance, and they're always at the casino, whether in the casino of life or whatever. But yeah, if you're not like that and you're just wondering what the heck is going on, I think you got to take a look at your own habits and see what is going on, what's going on for me personally that's getting me here. And first and foremost, look at yourself, because there's always going to be circumstances that you can't control. Like, there's always going to be environmental. Some of you might be living in a communist country and it's like way more harder because your opportunities are less, maybe, or the rules are different, or you might be in a place that has no job opportunities. You might not have any freedoms in starting a business. Who knows? Everyone has different cards that they're dealt with, right? But what's something that you can control, and what's something that's going on in your life right now that is preventing you from it? And basically that's what I was trying to share, is my personal bad habit. Another thing is, you might be asking again, why listen to me? And really, I'll tell you how I fucked up, how I learned from that. And this is not financial advice in any way, but I've seen a lot of millionaires who became extremely successful, who lost it all, and some people who weren't millionaires but became one through a decent income. And so I compiled a personal list and a method for basic steps for financial stability. And hopefully by sharing this, and you can compile your own or mix and match depending on what stage you're in. But I've been seeing this repeated over and over again. I just want to share a quick story of basically proving this point, right? So when I started YouTube, I started almost exactly at the same time as one of my buddies. He ended up becoming like a musician, and I went into comedy. But my channel did tremendously well. My network did really good. And then what we ended up doing was, at the peak, we were probably making around, personally, my cut was like 300,000-ish. But that's also with all my other channels and whatever. At one point, maybe even like $500,000. And what my buddy was making at the time was a steady 100K-ish a year. Now, fast forward to today, he's got like millions in real estate, both commercial, residential, rental properties. He's got all these like stocks, different type of cryptos, you name it, right? This dude is rolling. He's doing really, really well for himself. While me, I own several businesses, and on paper, if people basically evaluated them, meaning like if a company was like, hey, how much can I buy your business for, or whatever, right? It's just a number based on what your business is projected to make. If someone were to buy it, how much, it's just a valuation. It's not the real cost. I'm richer than a lot of people, but it's just imaginary, baby. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. It's like when they evaluated Twitter because Elon was gonna actually buy it, right? Was it really, really worth that much? Hell no. That shit, the stock went down like crazy. It wasn't even worth that buy, but Elon bought it anyway. It's kind of like that. There's a lot of businesses out there that's absolute bullshit. Not saying that mine is, but it exists because they're just numbers that people put a price tag. They just, yeah. Now, they're there is a actual legit way to evaluate it, but like tech companies and you know, a lot of these like businesses that don't actually make money, those are kind of hard to throw a number on. And well, we're just gonna get into a whole different topic, but anyways, I would say that I'm paper rich. I'm asset evaluations rich, right? I'm not actually like hella cash in the bank. That's a completely different story. And what my buddy is, though, he did it the traditional way. He did it the most fundamental, basic way, right? And he actually has wealth. He's actually bringing in hella profits every month, you know? And for me, my businesses are making hella profits every month, right? It's bringing in cash, but I got hella debts to pay off. I got investors that are counting on me. It's a different story. And we'll get to a little bit of this in the future. But yeah, you guys get the picture. So you might be thinking also like, okay, in this story, it's the numbers are big. 300,000, 100,000, whatever. But like, what about just starting out? What about if I just started my career? Now, I didn't make this from the jump. Like, I didn't make hundreds of thousands on like just starting off YouTube. My personal story is right after college, I was in about 30 to 40K in debt. This is 2009, right after the financial crisis of 2008. Couldn't find a job. Right after I got my college degree, I was like, oh, now I have all these good grades. I'm gonna put that on my resume that I graduated magna cum laude. Check out my GPA. Check out my bachelor's degree. Now I'm gonna be worth so much more, you know? And I couldn't find any job, because even if a college degree can boost your resume, if the economy sucks, the economy sucks. And if all these overqualified adults with mad experience, if they're the ones, you know, getting laid off, guess what? They're gonna take the entry level jobs that are meant for fresh graduates. So the job market was fucked. I didn't have anything, dog. So what did I do? I went back to working in shipping, making $12 an hour. I think I was making like $1,500 a month, right? With, remember, 30 to 40K in debt. What the hell am I gonna do? $1,500 a month. Oh no, right? And I was doing YouTube at the time, but YouTube didn't have a payment program back then. It wasn't as easy as now, where you just click like throw in ads. They didn't have none of that. You had to be invited, and I don't think we got invited till like late 2009 or 10. But I am practicing. I did practice when I'm gonna be preaching here. So at this point, I was like, what am I gonna do? You guys are probably in that situation too. If you're just starting out, you just graduated, or you're still trying to get a hold of life because you just feel like there's no end to it. So on this $12 an hour job, there's several things that I did. One, I chose this job because they said that when you become a full-time employee, there was a 6-month period of trial, right? I think my annual income would turn to like 30K. As a single male, that's like 20K take home. On top of that, though, this was the biggest winning point for me. They had health insurance. So I didn't have to pay for health insurance. They had full insurance. and dental. So this was a really good company because they don't, a lot of companies in the States, guys, they don't offer healthcare, especially for these entry level positions working in the warehouse, shipping, and things like that. But this was a Japanese company, and it was one of the things that they believed in because I think it's normal there in Japan. But anyways, so once I became a full-time employee, I needed mad like teeth work done. I had like wisdom teeth that was gonna cost thousands of dollars for the surgery, and they took care of all of that. So I was like, dude, that totally paid for itself. Meaning the healthcare just, that was a couple $100s a month at least that added up. Another thing was I was doing a bunch of side gigs. Like I would buy and sell cars. I would, go on Craigslist. I would go on eBay. Just whatever I had, I would resell. And little by little, I would chip away at this debt. And I did it in about 2 years. I think I probably could have done it quicker, but back then, they didn't have the same money-making opportunities that they have today. And there wasn't a network. We just had eBay and Craigslist. We didn't have OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace. We didn't have a lot of different options to sell stuff. But I did it, and this is, like I said, this is before making like actual money on YouTube. But because I did it, that was my goal, is get out of debt, go full time on YouTube. And I just didn't feel comfortable going full time on YouTube because number one, I didn't want to pull a lot of that money out that I was making on YouTube because I needed that to pay my employees on the channel. I wanted to pay my camera guy first. I wanted to pay my editors first. I for like the first 5 years on YouTube, me and my business partner, we only took $1,000 a month. I lived on $1,000 a month for a hella long time. And that's when it got to the point where, we're making like 300K, all that. It all paid off later because we grew it to a company of multiple channels and like 30 people on payroll. But it didn't happen overnight. Anyways, okay, so here's my list here of priorities if you want financial stabilities, okay? Just like in my situation, number one, first and foremost, you gotta get the hell out of debt. If you're in debt, that should be the number one priority. Because if you're owing, and then it's compounding too, right? So like, let's say you got credit card debt and your APR is like 20 something percent. Dude, that shit's just gonna add up. You're gonna be paying that shit forever. And this is where people fuck up. It's like, you got a debt to pay, but you're out here trying to like build a new business, and like you didn't even get that debt to build the business with. You just spent crazy and bought a bunch of clothes or car parts or whatever stupid shit that you bought, right? It wasn't even to like build your life. Most people are like this. They just spend and deal with it later, and then they're like, oh crap, I'm still spending on that $200. I'm still paying back that $200 that I spent 3 years ago because the freaking APR is so goddamn high. Now I'm just paying back the interest. It's like, what the fuck, man? But before you guys do anything, if you have debt, you need a strategic plan on finishing that. And for me, when my goal was to pay this off, I immediately saw how much was, I owed. I was like, what the fuck? Okay, so first and foremost, I was like, I'm not spending anymore beyond my necessities. And everyone has, when I tell them their necessities, some people told me like, dude, this one kid told me, well, I gotta go to the movies every week because that's my passion. It's a necessity. I'm like, no, it's not. That's a luxury, bro. That's bullshit. You don't have to do that. That's necessity is shelter, nourishment, food. You know, that's it. Phone bill. If you absolutely need a car, you get a transportation, I guess, you get a bus pass, whatever. That's a necessity. Even like it just blows my mind. Like, you don't need to shop for clothes every week. They're like, oh, I need clothes on my back. Yeah, but do you really gotta go to Fendi? Like, that's not a necessity. Go to Ross, dude. Like, what the fuck? I still go to Ross. Because I love it, baby. I still go to Goodwill. I love the deals. It's like I found treasure. And you have no fucking right. If you're in debt and you're broke and you're trying to climb out of it, what the hell are you doing buying a fucking $100 prime rib dinner? Why? Like, I hate this treat yourself shit. I deserve it. I want a balanced life. Yeah, but don't you got $100,000 school loan that you need to pay out? Like, what are you doing to yourself? I have a friend out here in Hawaii. His name's Kamaka. He has a podcast called Keep It Aloha. And he did this challenge to pay off $50K in loans in 1 year. And he documented this process where he did a bunch of side hustles, you know, odd jobs, you know, mow my lawn for $50, quick side hustles, Uber, whatever. He did a bunch of stuff outside of his regular work, and he was able to do it. He was able to pay off his $50K in 1 year. And this is not someone who's used a social media following. This is not someone who's already got, like, you know, all this. He didn't use that network. This is options that everyday people have if you live in America, right? There's odd job listings all the time, side hustle gigs. Now, they're not all glamorous, but I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of work out there, especially now. For some reason, right now, a lot of people are not working. And there's a lack of desire or whatever it is that's happening right now. I gotta look further into it, but it is the truth. A lot of people, there's a worker shortage, not a job shortage. So if you want to get out of debt right now, people are gonna pay more for things that they, you know, weren't paying the same amount for. People are like, I need more workers, whatever it is, right? And you can do this. You'll find your own groove. And you got to be tremendously, like, strict with yourself. Don't hang out. Because hanging out, if your friends don't have a lifestyle that's hella no cost, right? Some people, their friends are all about, let's blow hundreds of dollars over the weekend. Let's go to the bar. Let's go shopping. And these things aren't bad if you have money. That's the key, though. If you're in debt and you're trying to get rid of this stuff, it's like, dude, get the fuck away. It's like, if you're trying to quit drugs, why would you hang out with your drug friends? It's the same concept. Your friends have money, they could spend it, but for you, you need to get the hell away. So what, I'm not supposed to have a social life? Yeah, 100%. Because your social life is getting you further into the debt that you don't want to be in. Or find free ways to hang out, like go hiking, go, if you already have a bike, go bike. I mean, do things that it's not only healthy and fun, but it doesn't cost anything to do it. And also keep in mind that getting to the destination and you're probably going to be hungry there and all that. You're going to spend money on lunch. You're going to spend money on gas. All these things cost something, right? And the quicker you can get a hold of yourself, and the sooner you can start paying these things off. Like, what if your hobby was a random side hustle? Like, seriously, what if your hobby was to cut someone's grass real quick for $40? As soon as you get that, start paying it back. I know it's going to seem like just a mountain of money, like $100,000 in school loans feels like a lot, right? But when you start seeing that number go down, it is the most amazing feeling. And every week you'll check it and you'll get lower and lower and lower. And before you know it, you're going to feel amazing, because when I paid off that $40K, I felt liberated. There's even a video of me, when I was able to quit my job, all this stuff. I put that on YouTube. If you've been following me since 2008, I documented that, and I was able to go full time on YouTube. That was a great feeling. So number one, please guys, get out of debt if you're already in debt. Number two, the reason why you're here is because you lack financial education and you're curious and you don't know where to start. Also, I do believe now there's just way too much information out there. It's almost like, where do you even start? What's right information? What's wrong information? You got dudes like Jim Cramer giving you all the worst stock picks. And then you got like actual goats out there that are getting buried in the algorithm because they don't have sexy titles and 0 views. But here's a couple of my things. If you're just starting out, right? If you don't know anything, absolutely anything, there's a few good starting out books that can get your foot in the door, but in an entertaining way, so it's not super boring. I always recommend to people read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And then the second book is read his Cash Flow Quadrant. It'll teach you about taxes and stuff like that. If you want to learn about financial stability and investing and all the basic fundamentals that are proven, read Unshakable by Tony Robbins, and start just typing in basics, like basic investing 101 shit, right? It might be boring, but understanding these terms, understanding what an ROI is, ROI, sorry. Man, English. ROI, return on investments. Understanding interest rate, APR, APY, all these things. When you get the words down, then you can get into the next steps of furthering and expanding your understanding. And now it's actually easier more than before because YouTube's just got so much fun, entertaining videos with graphics and whatever. And, these people do it so well. Like, even guys like Graham Stephan and all, I love their videos. I think they're really, really good. And also shout outs to Minority. Damn, dude, I know this guy. He was on JK News. Jasper 8. Minority Mindset, I think. Or yeah. Or Minority Hustle. Dang it. Okay. You guys got to help me on that one. Maybe in the comments below you can shout them out. But yeah, get your fundamentals down, get your final basics down, and start understanding the words and the world. Because before, when I didn't know anything about this stuff, it was so intimidating for me. I saw finance, business, money, all this stuff. I saw it as just evil. And I mean, it might be. I don't know, right? Like, I don't really put meaning into numbers anymore. But the matter of fact is, We got to live with this. It's a part of our society. We're in the system. And so it's better to understand how to live in it and control it than to just be ignorant and let it control you. Or else just be a homesteader and run away and build a house in the forest or something. But if you're watching, you're probably a part of the system. You got a cell phone, you got a laptop, whatever. So you might as well learn, and you might as well try and understand it, because it's going to be a lifelong thing. And don't you want your family to better their situation? Don't you want to educate your children? Don't you want, it's just the same fundamentals of life, right? Like health. You want to know how to handle that better so you could live a fulfilling life. And I think financial education is one of the main reasons why a lot of people are in a big fucking mess. Like they just don't got it. And I mean, the school system don't teach it. There's a lot of snake oil salesmen online with a lot of bullshit. Some of y'all probably joined a pyramid scam because your friend got you into it and you go, never again, fuck this shit, right? And the topic of money it's just been such a touchy subject for a lot of people, because of all the emotional trauma that's probably attached to it. Like a lot of us, we might have parents that divorced over finances, or like, I remember the bill collector calling my house, picking it up as a kid. I like picking up the phone all the time. Hello. I did the answering machine, all that, right? It was my job. And I remember I got my ass kicked one day because I picked it up and it was the bill collector. And my dad was like, don't pick it up. And so, like, things like that. I think there's just a lot of emotional attachment to the concept, to the idea. People don't want to go through their finance. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to talk about it. And they're afraid to make the wrong moves. So what do? They just, every month deposit that check, spend, and they don't even want to worry about it. Don't look at the statements. The numbers are confusing. I get a fucking headache. But all I'm saying right now is just, in order to be financially stable, you got to understand the basics. So please learn the basics. Speaking of basics, we're going to go into number 3, which is understand your monthly average. All right. So your monthly average is, we're going to open up that bank account, that credit card statement, everything that you spend a month. This is the reality. This is the cold, hard truth of who you are. You can't deny it. You can't guess it. I think when people look back, if you never budget and control your spending or understand what your monthly average is, a lot of people just guess. They go like, yeah, I spend about $1,000 a month. I don't know. Everything's so expensive. They blame other things. Oh, the world is the inflation. It's this and that. And then they take a look at how much they've been spending every month. And they're like, oh my God, I've been spending that much at fucking restaurants. I've been spending that much coffee. Oh my goodness. What? And it's hard. I think it's a hard thing to do. So the way you break down your monthly average is you open that up. And a lot of these bank accounts too, they already do it for you. They have like a pie chart. If you've never seen this stuff before, it's pretty simple. Like back then we had to like put everything out on Excel and then write it all out and be like, okay, I spent $20 at the gas station. I spent $10 at 7-Eleven. I did this and that, right? Now it's all broken down for you. And then you look at that and you see, what are you spending generally every month, right? Is it $3,000 a month? Is it $5,000 a month? And then you got to look at like, what are you spending on your house, on food, on clothes, on entertainment? You got to break down all those costs. And once you see that, you'll see what the pattern is. Most people, they spend around the same average every month. Generally, it's and this is also how you can figure out what your basics are. But unless you track and unless you look at it, and like, there's no way you're gonna be able to budget. Because I've been seeing some people, they budget all wrong. Some people, they just have an idea, just throwing it out there. They go, my budget is $1,000 a month. And I'm like, why? Oh, that's just how much I want to spend. And I'm like, how did you even come up with that number? Oh, it's just a goal of mine. And I'm like, well, how much do you make? It's like 4,000. And your goal is to live on 1,000 a month? Like, yeah, that's possible, but what are you doing to get there? I don't know. I'm like, okay, let's open this stuff up. How much do you spend a month on just rent? 1,200. All right, then how the fuck is your goal gonna be 1,000 a month? It doesn't make any sense. It's the stupidest thing. So instead of having just like a number that you throw out there, first and foremost, open it up. Look at what you're spending on rent. Look at what you're spending on your phone bill, whatever, right? And you got to break it all down, which leads us to number 4. We're going to control your spending, because it's not how much you make, it's really how much you spend. Just like in my story earlier, right? My buddy was making $100K a year. I was making $300K. And he's way more successful in terms of investments, in terms of savings, in terms of all this stuff. Because what's the point, right, of having a high income if you spend more than you make? You're going to be broke. And that's where I'm always like, people are like, oh, if I just made more. It's like, no. For example, like, if you're a janitor and you make like 40K a year, 30K, whatever you have it, like, if you're living on 25K, dude, you have all that extra money. You're richer than the guy that makes 100K a year, but he spends 130. There's a story about that one janitor who, after he passed, I think he had millions in an investment account or a savings account or something, because every single time he just, was able to put that money away. So controlling your spending and understanding how all of this, how like your own habits of how you spend and all that, that's actually the key to all of this. And to breaking it down and looking at it, and you're like, okay, well, this is how much I spend on utilities. This is how much I spend on rent. And you'll start to see all the extra luxuries that you shouldn't be fucking burning and where it's going. You buy too many toys. You buy too much extra shit. You go out too much. You party too much. Cut all that. Look at what it looks like when you cut all that extra shit and you stick to the basics. Can you downsize though? Like some people just have crazier standards than others, right? I could live in a room and pay a couple $100 a month. I don't need a $5,000 house a month. I did that at one point. I had a 3-bedroom home to myself, paying $4,000 a month. But if you add all the lawn care, utilities, freaking like everything else, it was close to $5,000 a month by myself. I could have used that elsewhere, but that's what I'm saying. Like, do you absolutely need it? Can you downsize? And I'm not saying like live as smallest and restricted as you can. Like, do what is realistic to you. Like, I'm only saying it because I can do this and not be that mentally affected by that decision. But I could totally imagine like someone, not being inspired and being stressed because of the place that they live in is an absolute dump. So I get it. Like so you figure out what your threshold is and do it realistically and see what you can live out with. Do you need 2 cars? You probably don't. Just remove one. Can you downsize that car? Can you change it up? Do you need a luxury car? Can you get like a more conservative car just for the time being? Can you buy one outright so you're not making payments? I would basically clear all that up and see how much is left over on a monthly, right? Main cause of not being financially stable is people just spend more than they make. And I know it sounds super freaking simple and stupid. And you know, a lot of people are going to be talking about the circumstances. Like, no, that's not true. What about this? When you have 3 kids, you don't know what it's like. And it's like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking to my audience right now who are either starting off in their careers, late 20s, early 30s, just can't get ahead. They want financial stability. They might be even dreaming of a day where they have passive income, doing all these different side businesses. And in most cases, it's because they're not doing the basics. The number one basics, the boring shit, all the stuff that no one wants to do. We want to strike it rich. We want a big, successful business, you know? And it's much more fun selling these like knives or sauces or whatever we're doing on the side than to just look at what we're spending and maybe not go out as much. Maybe not spend so much on that, you know, jacket that we wanted. Maybe it wasn't the best move to buy $1,000 jacket. Who knows, right? I'm just throwing these things out there because not everyone is a frivolous spender. But for those of you who need to hear this right now, this is for you. Other things might really ring with you. But going into this, the number 5 would be the unexpected expenses that come up, like emergencies. Yes, people. I'm not just blaming people for having bad habits. This is a reality, right? Because some of you out there are very disciplined, and you're like, I am disciplined. I don't spend more than I make, but I just can't get ahead. I don't know why. I can't be financially stable because the other day I got into this fucking accident, this fucking car accident that's going to cost me $50,000 because of this, that, or whatever. I didn't have insurance or whatever bad luck happens, right? The other day I had to go in a fucking ambulance and these predatory ambulances charged me $10K. And I told them I don't want to go in there. I fucking broke my leg playing basketball, but they forced me in the ambulance. Now I have to pay $10K. What the fuck am I going to do? And I'm sorry, like life just sucks sometimes. It happens, right? Like it sucks. You did everything you were supposed to do and you know, you were dealt a horrible card. But it's not your fault, obviously. But life isn't also meant to be good all the time. And really, when these things happen, we just have to go back to step 1, which is get out of debt. I know, it sucks, but it's the name of the game. It's really these boring fundamentals that get you to tremendously successful places. And another thing would be if you were disciplined, if you did have an extra cushion and you weren't spending frivolously and you did have a little bit of extra income, then you're supposed to save up for emergencies. My rule of thumb is trying to get around 6 months of expenses. So now that you know what your monthly average is, let's say you spend about $3,000 a month, right? On just like living expenses. Then times that by 6. So you survive 6 months. If you get fired and you're not getting unemployment, if you just like can't stand your job and you just want to find another job but you're afraid to quit, you get injured and you can't work, something happens, right? Like a car accident, whatever. Now you can live 6 months comfortably without changing your living standards because you have an emergency fund. And I would do this before I even think about investing. Because what's the point of investing if something happens and you have to cash out your investments and you got to start all over again. So I would say always study investing. So, you got to continue your like learning no matter what. But I would have my emergency fund or 6 months of living expenses like ready to go before I even think about investing. That's just crazy. Sometimes I'm only saying this because I've ran into people that don't even have like this cushion before they even want to talk about like they're too ahead of themselves, right? And it's like, yeah, you don't have debt maybe, and then you have a good job, and then you want to go into investing, but what about backup? I don't know. Number 6 would be make goals, like for example the 6-month reservoir for emergencies or whatever. Or if you want to dream home, if you want to make enough to where you can retire, new job, side hustles, new business, whatever. When you understand what this new goal is, then you can budget accordingly. And I know this sounds simple and stupid, like duh, like I want to buy that jacket, but like, let me break it down. Let's say you walk into a store, you see this sick ass jacket, right? And it's like $500. And you're like, oh shit, that's a lot of money. But is it the responsible thing to do right now? Did I pay off my debt? Check. All right, my debt's all clear. Am I spending less than I'm making? All right, check. I got an extra $200 a month because, I have an extra cushion. Every single month, I spend $200 less than I'm making. Do I have a reservoir? Check. All right. I managed to save up enough. Okay. Now you can invest because you have this extra money. But also if you want to treat yourself, you can too. But now you got to budget this out. How do you want to do it? You have an extra $200 a month. So in 3 months, you can buy this thing. Or you could be like, well, for the next 3 months, I'm going to put $200 in an investment. And then for the next 3 months, I'm gonna get $600, and then I'm gonna finally buy this jacket as a reward. I have friends that do that, right? So before they buy the dream that they want, like I want this car, it costs me $50,000, or I want this new Rolex, it costs me $10,000. What they'll do is they'll buy a solid investment of the same price first. So they'll buy $50,000 of a solid investment, super safe stock or whatever it is. And then as a reward, they buy a car for $50,000 so that they spend $100,000. There's different agreements and different methods that you can do to get this. Or some people use like a reward system, right? Like, hey, after I pay off this debt, then I'm going to be able to go get that jacket that I always wanted. And more often than not, if you don't impulsively buy, then what ends up happening is when the time comes when you can afford it, you don't even want it anymore. And delayed gratification is the game here, guys. The more you can do it, the more you can keep at pace with all of this stuff. So, whatever stage you're in, basically, number 7, do what is the most important first. Do you need to get out of debt? Do you need to control your monthly spending? Do you need to make more, or do you need to spend less? Whatever it is, that stage you're in, I would aggressively focus on that before anything else. And a lot of the times, it's a combination of making more and spending less. So what I mean by that is, let's say if you're in a situation where you got multiple kids that you need to take care of, dependents, whatever it is, right? And you're just like stuck and you're just absolutely in this position where you're like, hey, I just cut so much spending. I don't know how much more we're going to be able to cut. I'm in this unfortunate situation where I just can't make enough. Now, every month I have to use my credit cards because I spend $4,000, but I make $3,000. And on top of that, I don't have any more hours. Like my full-time job is all that I can do. Now, a lot of people are in these shitty ass situations. But then it comes down to being creative with efficient time usage. There's a lot of online gigs now, side hustles and things that you can do. And the best way to do it is adding up side hustles that can pay off the deficiency. On top of that, if you're really, really in hard situations and you're in debt or whatever, there are debt consolidation programs. There are people out there that'll help you negotiate with the debt collectors and the companies that are like, hey, we're about to put a lien on this fool. And it's like, well, how do you expect them to pay back when they don't make enough? It's just never going to be ending, right? So all these things you got to look for on Google to figure out your specific situation and how you can get out of it, whether it's debt, whether it's making more, whether it's like you have a crazy credit card with high interest rate. You need to have somebody buy that debt and give you a smaller interest rate, whatever it is, right? But do what's most important first, because like I mentioned earlier, why are you looking at $1 million investment when you can't even handle your $50,000 job? It's like you're not going to be able to run a business if you can't even self-employ yourself with a side hustle. You got to start small. You got to start somewhere, but you got to do it manageable. You got to do it at a level that's manageable. You can't, like, what makes you think you're going to be able to handle a $5 million fund if you've never even invested into stocks? So a lot of people just aim for like things that are so high because they want that money now. They think that life will just be easier once they make more. But time and time again, what ends up happening is when people make more, they spend more because it's hard to resist, right? So do what's most important first. Find where you are, identify that part, and then tackle it aggressively. Now, let's say you got all this stuff and you're like, now, what I'm looking for is passive income, investments, all that. But I'm too intimidated. I want you guys to look at something called dollar cost averaging. I think, to me, it's the king of his investments for beginners. And the reason why it's like great for beginners too is because it's really hard to lose when you pick like an index fund or something that a collection of stocks that are the most successful and companies that have been around for a long, long time. What they do is it's like buying a pie of a piece of every single successful company. Like that's what a fund is, an index fund or whatever, right? And what dollar cost averaging is imagine like every single day you automatically put $10 away into this company that owns all the top successful companies, right? Because what it does is it mitigates risk, meaning like, let's say it has Apple, Google, all of these tech companies, all of these oil companies, all these retailers, whatever. If one company goes down, your wealth isn't that affected because it's like 1 out of 1,000 companies or whatever it is this fund has. So you got to find one that's good, and then have an amount that you can spare and put it away like on a schedule, whether it's every day, once a week, once a, whatever it is. And what this does is it takes the emotions out of investing, because investing can easily turn into gambling, especially in the early stages when it's super, you don't know much. And a lot of the times when people read up on it, they feel like they know a lot and they're ready, and you'll lose a lot. And this is coming from a person who's lost $1.6 million. And so take it from me. Do a safe style that's kind of guaranteed for your future. And then if you have excess income, then, and if you want to play, then so be it. But I think this is my mistake. And my biggest mistake is I did not. Well, I do have a retirement that's completely separate. But I feel like I should be dollar cost averaging when it comes to everything in life. Like this mentality of doing a little every day, $10 every day, but also put it into health. Like if I worked out every single day, even if it's not like a full-on 1 hour workout, if it's just a walk around the block. So I didn't just sit all day, right? Be conscious of what I'm eating every single day. Like put that mentality of saving every single day, but like for health, for wealth, for education. 10-minute video on what you want to learn, whether it's finance, whether it's learning a new language, whatever. And I think that's probably where I've seen the most successful people is they do something a little bit every single day for a long time, and you just get really good at it. Because where I've messed up is I do something obsessively and aggressively, intensely for like every single day for about a month, and then I crash and I sleep for hours and hours because I exhausted my body and mind. Might be a trait of hypomania, ADHD, whatever it is. And it's fun. I think the reason why I do it is because it's so fun to sprint, but the key is probably to jog for your lifetime and not destroy your body too much and give yourself some time to rest and balance it out. So the concept of dollar cost averaging, Google it, look it up. It's really, really a safe way to get into investments is if you're intimidated of getting into risky investments or whatever, right? So dollar cost averaging, it's really good because no matter what the market does, you have an average over the course of years to balance it out. So you don't sit there and go, oh, I want it at a low price, or I can't believe I bought it at this high price. And it's not this emotional experience. You just do it every single day, no matter what. Yep. Those are my kind of 8 steps that I came up with. And so real quick, I just want to summarize it. Number 1, get out of debt. Number 2, understanding financial education. 3, know your monthly average, break down your costs. 4, control your spending. 5, yes, save up for that emergency, 6 months worth of your monthly average. 6, write out your goals so you know specifically what you want to budget for and what you want to aim for. 7, whatever stage you're in, that's the most important, so make sure you handle those first and foremost. And number 8, dollar cost averaging is the king of investments. That's pretty much it, guys. Oh, and we have Ty here. He is my new assistant manager for Jumbi. Right on time. Yeah, hopefully this episode didn't bore you guys, but it seemed like very important to when I put this survey up. So I just wanted to basically give my support and help. If for I hope this episode helped y'all. I hope it wasn't, all over the place and you got something out of it. Okay? Till next time. Peace.